Louis Liebenberg, the alleged diamond Ponzi mastermind, and his wife Desiree abandoned their bail application during their first appearance in the Bronkhorstspruit Magistrates Court. This is where they appeared with 7 other accused. Now, the allegation is they registered companies purportedly involved in the buying and selling of diamonds, which then lured potential investors with promises of high returns over a short period of time using a cashless platform called AE Switch. Now, thousands of investors, we understand, made payments amounting to about 4.5 billion rand. As the saga progresses, more details are likely to come to light, but the scheme reportedly ruined the lives of investors, some of whom died penniless and others who lost everything and are now trying to rebuild their lives. This hour, we focus on the makings of a Ponzi scheme, the practice of money laundering, and where this case is likely to end. And Karam Singh is the Executive Director of Corruption Watch and joins us now. Karam, thank you very much. We really do appreciate your time and all the moving parts this morning. Thank you for staying with us. All the evidence is still to be tested in court. The testimonies of those affected, we understand, also very sad, in some cases tragic. But the NPA is describing a sophisticated and elaborate scheme. What do you make of it, and how it managed to get people to part with vast sums of money?
Yeah, whenever you see these kind of wide-scale frauds, so-called Ponzi schemes, one always wonders how the connections are made between between those who are peddling these schemes and then their investors. Mr. Liebenberg is quite a colorful character. He's been in South African public life for many years. It seems like he was able to leverage his reputation, his business dealings to bring in regular people, that invested in these schemes from communities around the Free State, the Northern Cape, other rural areas even, to invest with him. It doesn't sound like it was a kind of sophisticated industrial scam where he was leveraging, big amounts of money from other kinds of commercial institutions. I haven't seen the full indictments, but from what we're hearing, it's really regular people that were the victims of this scheme.
A little religion and a lot of confidence, some of the ingredients that managed to lure people over. Karam, as we continue to cover this story, we'll hear more and more about what you just talked about, the concept of a Ponzi scheme, an investment scam where returns are paid to the earlier investors, and then they use using the capital that's actually been put in by newer investors rather than from any profit that was earned by the operation of a legitimate business. Tell us a little bit more about how it works, because I think through the story as well, there's a lot of public service and information that can be shared with people to be aware of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also getting up to speed on this. I think what you've described is a pyramid scheme. So you have a Ponzi scheme and you have a pyramid scheme. And the pyramid scheme is the idea that you make an investment and then that investment is used to pay somebody else. This is kind of what we saw with the Bernie Madoff case. My understanding of a Ponzi scheme is that there isn't necessarily that kind of promise of an immediate return. But basically what happens is, people get sold a fraud. They get told that there's this investment that if they put their money in, there's no risk. They're going to get their money back, and there's a kind of guarantee. And I think that's the initial red flag that people must be alerted to out there, that any investment has an element of risk to it. Anybody promising you easy, risk-free money is possibly behind some kind of a fraudulent scheme. And we know there is this kind of syndicated criminal activity around the country, involved in this kind of organized fraud. So I think that's what that's what people just need to be on the lookout for, that there isn't an easy way to building an investment portfolio. It comes with risks and regulations.
And again, this is where that confidence piece comes in, hey? So, you have somebody who seems to be respectable, is in business, has all the trappings and the makings and the allure of wealth, and you want some of that. As you say, we've got to be really, really careful. And if it sounds too good to be true, the old adage goes, it probably is. Karam, there was that curious moment in court yesterday where Louis Liebenberg shouted, "Viva Mshlozi, Viva MK," as he entered the dock. Over the years, he has said he's donated no less than 10 million rand towards the upkeep of Zuma's Nkandla homestead and legal fees. There was that insolvency inquiry which found, and I'm not sure where this lives right now, so I'm putting it in, but of course we're going to have to see this play itself out, which found that Zuma has to reimburse monies given to his legal team by Liebenberg via Tariomics. What risks are there to Zuma and his MK party, or any others who might have gotten money, in terms of monies received from this entity or Liebenberg, especially if it's deemed to be the proceeds of crime?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's if it is the proceeds of crime, then those who receive this money are complicit. Whether there would be the MPA would be able to cobble together a criminal case based upon that, we would have to see. I mean, we have racketeering laws in the country which talk about related parties and interested parties in different types of criminal transactions, but those laws haven't been fully tested. So Jacob Zuma has a lot of legal issues to worry about. He's got his Thales case that still needs to go through. I would expect, I can't see how Jacob Zuma survives the state capture moment without facing other criminal charges around his complicity in his engagements with the Guptas. And it could very well be that we see that in terms of the relationships with Mr. Liebenberg. And, it raises additional red flags around issues around money laundering, around the requirements on political parties to make disclosures, honest disclosures about where they receive their money, and whether, political parties are being used as conduits for money laundering and other kinds of illicit financial gains. So I think those are the red flags that we need to pursue further.
And this is an area Corruption Watch is quite adept at, is, looking at how things begin to unravel and what the prospects are for accountability, both from a prosecution and a restitution perspective. Speaking of restitution, let's think about the investors here. And we heard some really sad stories, and I'm sure we're going to hear many more as this gets into full swing and gets into into a trial process of people who wanted their monies out and their loved ones had fallen ill. Some who apparently committed suicide, others who've just lost everything, their homes. Based on past experience in cases like these, how high are the prospects for them to be reunited with at least some of their money?
Very difficult to say. I mean, there are countless stories of these types of fraudulent schemes where the victim, there's no money left, and the victims don't receive a payout. Clearly, people will have civil claims against Liebenberg and his former, corporate entities. The question is, will they be able to access money that's been frozen by the state in terms of asset forfeiture? Very difficult to make a prediction about that, but the track record, and from my understanding in terms of past cases, is that these cases often end with that kind of a tragic, a sad ending where people don't recover their investment.
Yeah, and therefore, going back to what you said earlier, it's a cautionary tale to think very, very long and hard. And also, if people are offering financial services, advice or prospects, and they're unregistered, that should, again, we have to do our due diligence, is go back and check, all of those lines. I know we've kept you longer. I'm going to ask you one final question with your indulgence, Karam. And this is, South Africa is so hungry and thirsty for accountability, to see the courts do their work, to see the state come with a really well-made and constructed cases. We understand this one has been a case that's 5 years in the making, so we hope the NPA and everyone involved has all of their ducks in a row. Optically and psychologically, how important are these developments in South Africa's, accountability landscape?
I think they're extremely important, and I think we criticize the police all the time. We criticize the MPA all the time. Investigations take too long. The cases, you're not ready to go to court, and you bring these cases. So, we need to give them our support. We need to congratulate everybody who has been involved in this investigation that got it to this point. And we need to, see it as an encouraging story in terms of the capacity of of law enforcement to do these cases. They take a long time, but to get them before court, once we see successful prosecutions, we can begin to think that maybe we are beginning to turn a corner on organized crime and corruption, but we do need to see those prosecutions. So it's good this case is in the dock. I think it has to be an encouraging sign. And, we need to congratulate and give encouragement to everybody that's been involved in putting this case together and who still need to prosecute it.
Karam Singh, thank you so much. We do appreciate your time and your perspective. Karam is Executive Director at Corruption Watch.